Hello everybody, it's Mango Thunderslice, and today's another chill Sunday joint session. Talk about, I don't know, profound subjects and whatnot in the state of supreme chaos and geomagnetic storms that's going on, you know. It's a pretty interesting time. May you live in interesting times, a Chinese proverb. Well, you got your wish, brothers and sisters, you got your wish. You know, lots of things going on. Could really talk about a lot of them, but don't really want to. You know, ISIS about to get finally taken out. The Syrian government's colliding with the U.S. forces or U.S.-backed Kurds in Syria, so ISIS is about to be done for. So, you know, for all the non-interventionist, you know, crying about the situation at hand, you know, the fact is Trump promised during his campaign to wipe the floor with ISIS, and it looks like that's what's happened. But I just see that as a bellwether, another example of how energy's coming into the system, right? And it's causing all these profound transformations, because everything, every function, every system is a function or a system of energy, right? There's input and there's output, and there's the transformation process that goes from one to the other. But I think, you know, I really only do the topic videos to kind of provide, you know, air support and provide a cover and a structure for what I feel like are the really meaningful conversations, which are really just the conversations that benefit people's everyday life. The conversations about the archetypes of the subconscious and how to fulfill your own potential, right? You know, the tagline on our channel is how to maximize your potential as a human being on planet Earth. And, you know, despite the controversial nature of many videos, the whole point is to inculcate a psychological state where you can handle intense topics and not be riled up by them, okay? Because people in this culture are very easily riled up by things. You know, at the moment right now, we're living actually in, you know, where we live is a fairly conservative part of California, and it's funny being like the guy who is affiliated with cannabis, I don't know, who I guess probably smells like weed a lot of the time, going into the supermarket and, you know, buying beer every once in a while, you know, as in like multiple times per week. But it's just funny because the weirdness is an energy field that persists through parts of America, and a lot of people, they interact with that weird energy field and they kind of get psyched out by it, right? Because they have the idea that that society still has authority, right, and that they should feel weird for being an aberration within that society. But I feel like what you eventually realize is that this society is an aberration, right? And when you actually get into the plant consciousness and you're actually just relaxing and emanating good vibes, anybody who's not comfortable with that, they're the aberration, okay? They're the friggin' aberration, and I'm not gonna rile myself up to fit into that culture. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to represent my energy field, and I'm just going to promote good vibes, and at the same time make all decisions and communicate myself as effectively as I need in order to achieve my will. And that's really leading me into what this video is really about, which is the sacred art of being a man. You know, basically just the art of transformation and the art of being able to make decisions, right? Because I feel like people, you know, the false cult of the masculine, right, the false ego, right, people search for the surrogate of strength, right, they search for muscles, right, or they search for weapons, you know, violence, right, they want a giant rabid dog, right, to represent their masculinity, you know, and people, of course, always commenting on the trucks, right? Huge trucks. And again, I'm not saying that any of those are true or false. I'm just saying that it's people looking for something to fill the void, right? And that's That's what the root of consumerism is, you know, basically that's what the root of all the false religions are. That's what the root of the progressive religion of atheist statism, postmodernism is people trying to fill the void. Okay, and what's the void? The void is the internal void, is the absence of meaning in people's lives, right? So that's the problem. The problem is that people don't know what's happening, they don't care what's happening, they have no structure to interpret it, you know, basically, and they feel profoundly disempowered and alienated by this society. What they call anomie in the, you know, sociology world, you know, they just make up new terms to describe shit they could otherwise describe with, you know, words that people otherwise know. So goes the insanity of the academy. But in any case, you know, I've been listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson, and that cat's got a lot of good shit to offer, you know, just about identity formation, right? You know, he comes at it from a slightly different angle than I do, but I feel like, you know, there's multiple paths to the top of the mountain, but the top of the mountain is still the same objective goal, which is the individual human fulfilling their potential, fulfilling their identity, becoming what they are designed to be, right? The human being is not designed to be a miserable wretch sitting in a chair and playing video games and eating pizza all day. That is the aberration. What is natural is that man is a heroic human being, right? He has the power, he has the strength, not just physical strength, not just mental strength, but strength of will, spiritual strength, to make decisions that are hard, right? That require the, you know, the setting aside of immediate, you know, harm, or the threat of immediate harm for the sake of something greater, right? You know, this ring right here, you know, yesterday was Space Panther and our second marriage anniversary. We have like 3 anniversaries. You know, when, I won't go into all 3 of them, but yesterday was our actual marriage anniversary, our 2-year anniversary, and, you know, it's been a very good 2 years, and it was good before that, and it's going to keep on being even more good. And that's because I have the will and the strength to make sure that I hold up my end of the bargain. And not just with Space Panther, but with everyone in my life. You know, unless there's a reason to cancel the contract, I don't enter into contracts I can't fulfill. Okay? You know, I don't thrust my problems onto other people because I have the strength to deal with them. Okay, and I feel like that's really what's lacking, and that's why I decided today, you know, to make this video, is because people are so weak, and that's a you know, a temporary condition, right? Weakness is not like, oh, you know, there's, you know, genetic aspects, right? Someone who's born paraplegic, right, is different from, you know, the opportunities given to someone who's born, like, you know, with what people would call good genetics. But, you know, it's all energy. Like, people have come from very low points and gone to very high altitude peaks, right, simply because they found the strength within, right, to make decisions to transform their life, and to not be throwing their problems onto other people, but to deal with them. And that's the art of being a man. And it's not a random process, and it's not a process that's completely divorced from culture and religion and, you know, society. It's not just an individual process, though each person, you know, goes through that gate, so to speak, you know, on their own. It really is, it's a team effort, right? And why I keep coming back to culture, that, like, we only really fully develop as humans when we know ourselves through the eyes of others, right? You know, you can't just be a hermit all the time and pretend like you're the real spiritual master. You've got to come out of the cave, right? Or rather, in Plato's world, you got to go up to the sunlight, but then you got to go back into the cave, and you got to learn how to be a man, and you got to learn how to deal with situations in an evil, corrupt, controlled matrix world, knowing that there will be suffering, but that you will only change it if you accept that you can't change everything, but you can change a few things. And the more power that you can cultivate within yourself is the more you'll be able to change within your life. And this video is called How to Be a Man, but it's really just how to be a human being. Because, I mean, it's not like this message is to say that the struggles I'm describing are just solely limited to men. Everybody faces challenges in their life. And the question is, do you have the strength of will, the fortitude to do what is necessary, to do what is needed at whatever point you face? Are you worried about what your mom will think, what your dad will think, what your coworkers will think? You're worried about what Google will think? You're worried if Twitter will censor you? Worried if you'll be demonetized? I'm not worried about shit, my brothers. I'm not worried about a thing, my sisters. Alright, I work in the cannabis industry. The worst thing that could happen is that people find out that I hold some positions politically that could be construed as conservative, although I would never self-apply that term. I'm a revolutionary, baby. I'm trying to lead you into paradise 100 years from now. I'm a conservative in the Druidic sense. I'm a 10,000-year-old conservative, right? I follow the ancient ways, which is the original Christianity, if you want to hash that out, And I'm happy to have all real conversations down in the comments. I love our subscribers, And that brings me back to a comment on my last video, which was about, are these people running the world? Is this all some phallic obsession, about them basically, again, from the beginning, pursuing the surrogate for their own lack of masculinity? Open question. And I think that's definitely part of it. I mean, if you get into like how these royal families, these aristocratic families raise their kids, I mean, they torture them. I mean, it's a profoundly traumatizing way of raising children. And again, it's reptilian, right? The David Icke crowd is looking for all these physical, shape-shifting reptiles. All right, everybody's a reptilian in the center of their brain. Somebody, pulls a gun on me, I'll show you the reptile energy. I'll bite your fucking hand off. And again, the true man is master of all the archetypal forms. He can represent himself in any as he sees fit, right? I can be a reptile, I can be a bull, I can be a bear, I can be whatever I want. And, what's really interesting is not when you're, regressing into various animal phases to achieve things with brute force, but when you ascend into the Trinity, into the higher consciousness, where the two hemispheres of the brain are working in tandem. And the funny thing is, they can also start doing, you can start multitasking a lot easier. You can focus on a lot of different things, but also zone in at the same time. And sun gazing, is really what taught me to do all this, is just aligning the mind with the source of life. Aligning both hemispheres with the singularity that powers all life on this planet and throughout the solar system, right? So that's basically it, it's a cult of cultivation. Do you possess the energy to deal with the problems that are in front of you? If so, they're not problems. You just got to get off your ass and do it. So whatever it takes to get you excited about that, do it. Be a man and just go. Like, if you need some sort of, motivation, if smoking weed helps you, if, basically even having a beer helps you, whatever it takes. The point is that you keep living your life and you keep living that story. Don't let anything die. Don't surrender to this friggin' matrix, Don't let, what you were born for become a secondary priority, right? Because if your career, if your relationship, if your belief system, or whatever, no matter how logical or rational you might find any of these things, or the emotional momentum behind them, you need to have the strength to examine these things and have the capacity to cut them out if necessary, if they don't serve you, right? And when you realize that you are just a part of the creation and you start to lighten yourself, you'll realize that your self-interest is the self-interest of everybody else. And that's the true culture. That you see yourself in everybody, and so what you do for yourself, you do for them. And, really though, we're going to build something really awesome. I am not here to sell you doom porn and to sell you backpacks and to tell you that World War III is on our doorstep, no matter what my position on the whole North Korean situation. I'm not here to sell you fear. I'm just here to give you what you need to deal with the people who are fearful around you, right? Because they're all around me, but I don't let it get to me, because I got bigger problems. Actually, I don't have problems. That's the thing. I've just got a bigger strategic horizon, shall we say. And I've got long-term goals spanning this entire century. The Space Panther and I are going to live a beautiful life, and I'm going to make sure of that. And there's no doubt in my mind. I don't deal in the business of doubts and speculation, okay? I deal in power and the true faith that nature is always here for us, and as long as we're there for nature, it's always going to keep giving. It's a cycle, and it's a virtuous cycle. Get yourself in a virtuous cycle. Activate yourself. Become the fullest potential of what you were designed here to do. And let's do it together, because I guarantee when you reach that state, you're going to realize you and me, we're on the same path, brother. Fist bump. Cheers. See you next time.